Wet and windy will be the name of the game across Western Scotland over the next couple of days while we start to talk about heat across the southern half of the British Isles. Thanks for clicking on to the Friday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Today we are going to look at the GFS geopotential height anomalies here and the interaction between the tropics and the mid-latitude pattern. This time of the year it gets more interesting because we start to see a more active African wave train. We start to see more heat release from the low latitude atmosphere into the mid latitude atmosphere, and that has a significant influence on the jet stream. We had, of course, a typhoon about 10 days ago, pushing into Japan, into the Koreas as well, and in a sense, that has created a ripple effect within the upper level westerlies from the Western Pacific across North America, sending a massive temperature drop into Denver. And now it has near enough reached the British Isles here. It's been crossing the Atlantic, and in a sense, that influence from the Western Pacific into North America will eventually reach the UK early next week in the form of a short, sharp burst of heat. So we're not done just yet with summer-like heat. But what's quite interesting here, folks, is as we get into the second half of the summer season and into the first half of the autumn, it would actually really amaze you the amount of influence the tropics actually have. Of course, we've got the water temperatures probably now at their maximum as we go into the second half of September. We also have a lot of different things going on. We've got a lot more tropical activity compared to what we have back in June and July. And that is essentially why we see that more changeable weather pattern typically as we go into August and September here as well. The models do start to get a little bit more confused because they find it hard to read the release of heat and the interaction that heat release from the tropics has on the mid-latitude pattern here. But I want to show you something here which is quite interesting, is watch the interaction of these two tropical lows and how they start to reshape the atmosphere further north. So as we skip through, you can start to see here that the systems are going generally east to west, following the trade winds, of course. And you start to see the area of high pressure here to the north building as they slide westwards here. So you can see that it starts to become stronger. But then in a sense, what actually starts to take place is these areas of low pressure will start to take a turn north. They'll find a weakness in this area of high pressure over the mid-Atlantic. And what it'll do is it'll follow the path of least resistance, creating a split in the area of high pressure. And as that area of high pressure splits, now you see the lead system here starting to take that turn towards the north here. And in a sense, what it does, it splits that area of high pressure into two. One piece over eastern North America, another further east. Watch as that lifts northwards. Notice here the jet stream starts to drop south. So there's a southward plunge in the jet. There's a trough that starts to develop as this area of high pressure starts to split. And what that's essentially doing is that is pulling south with the influence of the split caused by this tropical low. But what that's doing is as you start to dip the jet stream here over the North Atlantic, what happens further downstream will start to pull heat and high pressure into the British Isles from Spain and France. And that is what we're going to see over the course of Monday and particularly Tuesday. We could be talking about 30 degrees in the southeast of England here as this dip starts to develop in the North Atlantic here. So you can see here that area of low pressure continuing to push northwesterly here. That formation of the dip has now started to slide eastwards, and what that has caused is the amplification of the high and the jet stream here further east to over the British Isles here. The question is this a permanent shift in the weather pattern to a more settled, warmer second half to September, or do we revert back to the current pattern? That is the big golden question, and a lot of that depends on the influence of these tropical lows further south here. So you can see here as we skip further on, that area of high pressure. Now some models are actually indicating that we see a little bit more of a stable pattern developing here, a little bit more long-lived area of high pressure. That high over Europe actually lifts up into Scandinavia, and you start to see this area of low pressure here to the west of Ireland dropping into the Bay of Biscay. And if that happens, we've got a lot more of a blocked pattern once again, and potentially a slowdown in the weather's progression in the upper levels. So we'll start to slow down the jet stream, we'll start to block it off, we'll start to shut down the Atlantic in terms of influence on the British Isles, and we'll start to see much more settled weather over the British Isles. So it's going to be interesting to see how much of a long-lived event this it becomes, and do we see the return of more of a strong Atlantic influence. So you can see here that the area of low pressure here, likely to be a hurricane at this point. This is Wednesday of the upcoming work week, the 16th of September. And you can see here that area of low pressure cut off from the main jet, basically just spinning around here, and there's nothing really to move it along. So we're going to continue to see east to southeasterly winds over the British Isles here, not the westerlies like we've seen so much lately. And it's just going to be interesting to see how much time that area of high pressure hangs around, because you notice here that we are starting to see that area of low pressure starting to re-strengthen the jet once again over North America. And in a sense, I think what's going to happen is we're going to start to reform a strong jet, and the atmosphere is going to return to where it has been. So you can see here that we are starting to see the ridge getting flattened out once again, and potentially the return of westerlies and low pressure into the British Isles here. But certainly a lot of interesting things to come, and in the next week or so I'm going to be starting to talk about influences that may shape the upcoming winter season of 2020-2021. That's it for today. Hope you have a great day. Back in the next few days with more. Bye for now.